Our firefighter is our son. His name was Kendall Murphy. He was 27 years old at the time of his accident. His accident was in November of 2017, so we've just passed the 5-year mark. He was our youngest. We do have an older daughter. He was the joy of our life. We have 3 grandchildren now. At the time, before the accident, we just had two granddaughters, and they just adored him, and he adored them.
He would let his nieces paint his fingernails. We've got pictures of him laying on the floor playing beauty shop. I mean, it didn't bother him. He would jump in there and just play with them. His one niece, they'd play hide and seek in the house, and he hid her on the top shelf of the closet. And then he leaves, and then all of a sudden you hear a thump. Well, she fell out, he went running back, she was fine, but she remembers that, and she was only 2 at the time, I believe, 2 years old. So yeah, so those memories there that they've got, or we keep telling them about, that it's kind of neat to see our granddaughters do that. And then our grandson was born after Kendall's accident, and he was named after him, Micah Kendall. So looks just like him, we think. He was such a family guy that Katrina's aunt had passed away in Virginia. And you know, her mom and dad's a little older, and he volunteered to just take off work, and he drove them to Pennsylvania for the funeral. I mean, family was everything for him. Sunday nights we'd meet at her mom and dad's for pizza. He would be there all the time. 27 years old, still doing that. So
he was such a family, community person. He graduated high school, he goes to college, comes back to the community, and he started coaching at the high school where he graduated. Loved kids, all ages. He had coached freshman basketball for 2 or 3 years, and then in the fall of 2017, he was going to start coaching 5th grade boys basketball because he got a different job, so time requirement was different. And he had had 1 or 2 practices with the 5th graders, but the different parents of those 5th grade boys told us all the boys loved him. He included all of them, not just the star of the team. He included everybody, made everybody feel welcome. And so he just loved kids.
Kendall chose firefighting because of me. I got in the fire service in 1988, so I'm not good at math. That was a long time ago. I'm a volunteer firefighter, and I'm also a career firefighter 7 miles away. When he got his first job in town, I suggested highly that he join the fire department. He never really, I wouldn't say it was a passion of his to be a firefighter, but when I told him the community could use him because he's in town, and those daytime runs, we don't have anybody. So him and his best friend, which is our chief's son, joined the same time. And so I do have a little guilt. You know, I feel like I talked him into it, but I really didn't. I mean, if it was helping the community, he was going to jump in there and help. So he was on 1.5 years before his accident.
Kendall enjoyed helping people, no matter what the situation was. One of my co-workers in March of 2017 had a stroke. Good friend. There were times after she got home from the hospital, she had another medical emergency, and they paged Montgomery. He called me right away and said, "Hey Mom, we're going to their house. I just wanted you to know." So I go to the ER so I could be with her and her husband, and throughout the whole night, he was texting me, "Hey Mom, how's she doing? You know, is there anything else I can do to help?" And he was just very compassionate to help people. And if that involved medical runs, if it involved fire runs, just to be there to help.
On the fire scene, just 1.5 years, he really, you know, the training wasn't complete yet. He just went through hazmat training, which everybody hates. We were going through Fire 1 and 2 at the time, so he hadn't, you know, he was not structural, interior or anything yet, but I do know we had one fire, and I went downstairs. He was still living at our house. I went downstairs to wake him up. Come on, son, we got a fire. And he was in his deep sleep, and he just tells me, I don't want to go. So, okay, I go. I come back later. He said, Dad, did we have a fire? I went, yeah. He said, was it at Hillcrest is where the place it was? And I said, yeah. I thought you was getting me up to go to their appreciation breakfast, and I really didn't. So he was in a deep sleep. So, and he felt so bad that he blew me off. And I said, no, it's okay. I said, it's just part of it.
One of my favorite Christmas stories for Kendall is typical man, I'm gonna say, the way he would wrap presents. He would use paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls, and he would, put it inside the roll, and then he'd wrap the roll with the Christmas paper. Or he would get a huge box for one tiny little gift card, and you just never knew what you were going to open up. And he would take the scraps left over from wrapping paper, and you might have 5 different colors of wrapping paper on your present. But he was such a jokester and prankster, and that he was just a cut up, and just loved him.
Our favorite thing to do would be go to a restaurant and get a flight of beer, and we'd taste each one. And then when it was over with, we'd flip it over. And amazing how often we were the same. We had the same taste, and we liked craft beer. And it's not like we got silly on it. We would drink 1 or 2 and be fine. But what he would do is he would bring a different brand home, and they would sit in the refrigerator until I was off duty, and then he was around. And usually during a basketball game, and we'd sit there and watch the game, and we would share it. It was just one beer, 6 ounces each. And after it was over, we'd look at each other like, was it good, bad? If it was good, next week I might have a 6-pack sitting in the fridge waiting on me. If it was bad, we wouldn't get it again. But I miss those times. I mean, I'll sit at home now and get a craft beer out or something and look and sit down, and I'm really missing it. I mean, are those funny stories? No, but they're good stories. He had long arms. He was 6'4", maybe 5, not 5, 3 or 4.
6.
I'm 5'8", and that's pushing it. But we would get in an argument, and he would just stick his arm out and stick his finger down here, and I couldn't do anything. And I mean, here I am, the dad, and I'm like, I'm gonna ground you. Well, you got to get me first, And he was my son. I mean, a father's, I don't know. It's sometimes hard to believe that, I've lost a son. I think he was that guy. A great guy to the point that some of his friends now that we still have contact with will tell us that they're lost. And the reason they're lost is, he said, Kendall was the guy that was the center of the circle. And there was friends over here that hung together, over here and over here. He said he could be friends with all of them. And he said, and there'd be times that all of them would come to him, and then they all become friends. But whenever they're not together, they're not. It's like he was that glue that brought everybody in. And I just talked to some of them just over Thanksgiving, and these groups are fighting now, and they said they need Kendall. They need him to bring him back. And those are stories we didn't really know about him, because the things I want people to remember about Kendall is how friendly, how he would drop anything to go help them. And I know that's probably a cliche that you probably hear that a lot. I mean, that he was a good guy, good doing this, he'll do this for anybody, but he really did. I mean, he was an insurance salesman, that was his job. And a lady called him, one called us, I think.
Oh,
it was him?
What? Yeah.
She was broke down along the side of the road with a flat tire or something, and it was cold, rainy, misty, and he's like, I gotta go, and he just jumped in and drove down the road to help her. And she still talks about that to this day. Like when we'll put a Facebook post up, and she'll mention, I'll never forget him coming to help me.
Kendall was special to everyone that knew him. in my opinion, you know, and I may be biased. But his older sister, like we said, Kendall was 6'3", 6'4". His older sister is maybe 5'3", you know, so there was quite a bit of height difference.
And they were best friends.
And they were best friends. Everyone that knew him, you know, he was top notch. He treated them like they mattered. He cared. And yeah, I remember a parent of a basketball player telling us, you know, my son, you know, he didn't know my son, but he included him. Every Sunday at church that he saw him, he would shake his hand and say, you know, how you doing today? And he said he would go out of his way just to make kids feel included.
Here's to you, with that smile on your face. Here's to you, and what I want to raise to this moment we share.